5 Live Formula One.
Hello, welcome to your Checkered Flag Sao Paulo Grand Prix review. It's Harry Benjamin with you. Reigning F1 Academy champion Abby Pulling is alongside me. We've just come off air from the Grand Prix where Lando Norris took victory by over 10 seconds. Not enough for him, apparently, but a huge day for him in the championship as he extends his lead by 24 points over teammate Oscar Piastri. Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes finished second. Max Verstappen from pit lane to podium scores third. So let's get into it, Abby. A superb day, a superb weekend for Lando Norris.
Yeah, I mean, he's carried that momentum forward from Mexico. It was perfection there, perfection again this weekend. Although not happy with the 10-second gap that he pulled. I think around here it would have been hard to have matched the 30 seconds he had in Mexico. But a really good kind of race on one side of the camp for McLaren, the other side not so much.
Yeah, not so much. We'll get into that for Oscar Piastri. But, I mean, for Lando Norris, pole in the sprint victory, pole in the Grand Prix, victory after 71 laps. He had to navigate a virtual safety car as well. I mean, we've talked about it already this weekend, but it really does seem that Norris has stepped up a level.
Yeah, he's a different driver from the start of the year. There's no doubting that. Even, you know, what he did in qualifying, there was a lot of pressure on him there this week. This race, he knows that he's got to be perfection. He knows that he's got to do the perfect race to keep fighting and be at the top of the table. So, you know, come the end of the season, he wants to win the championship, and he can't afford to make any mistakes. So he's doing everything he needs to at this moment in time. It's just how long can he keep doing that?
Well, it's McLaren's first Interlagos race victory since 2012. Then it was Jenson Button behind the wheel. This time around, it's Lando Norris. Let's hear from our winner.
Lando, congratulations. We talked about Mexico yesterday. You controlled it again from start to finish. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was a great race. I mean, it was well managed, well executed, good starts, pit stops, decent strategy. It was just, it's been a good weekend once again, you know. So very happy. I was just very happy. I think I was pushing. It was still not an easy race. Like, I had to manage the tires a lot, and the pace was great. Clearly, I think it wasn't the easiest a race in terms of managing tires, and I think we're missing out a little bit to Max, for instance, who was very fast. But otherwise, just a perfect weekend in terms of every session, every quali, every race. Just what I need to do.
Touched on it there. From the outside, it just looks like everything's clicking for you at the moment. How much confidence do you take into this final decisive triple header of the season?
I just take the confidence that I have now. That's a good amount. It's the amount that I need. I think too much confidence is bad, not enough is bad. So I feel like, you know, you got to find the right balance with it. It's been 2 great weekends, but Formula One, things can change very quickly. So don't get too excited, don't get too complacent. A lot of work still to do, a lot of points up for grabs. So just keep my head down, keep working hard, and see what I can do.
Well done.
Thank you.
7 Grand Prix victories this season now for Lando Norris, and that 24-point advantage over teammate Oscar Piastri, now the largest of the season. He's really dealt a blow to Piastri and Max Verstappen's championship hopes this weekend. Surely at this stage, Abby, as a driver, with 3 rounds to go, you are well and truly thinking about this title.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Lando there, his approach and his mindset kind of going into these last couple races, I think you can't fault it. It sounds like exactly like what he wants to do, not get too overconfident, because that can make you complacent, but not back himself as well. You don't want to be questioning yourself and your decisions and not having that confidence. So he's in a really good place right now. Can't really say the same for Oscar at the moment. He's really struggling on the back foot. Max, I think Max is always quite impenetrable, although Sao Paulo has been a difficult weekend for them. They're always managing to get a result out of that Red Bull.
Well, let's talk about the other McLaren then, shall we? Oscar Piastri, who did not get on to the podium and makes it 5 races in a row now not on the podium. And I think really we've got to go to the safety car restarts for Oscar Piastri was where it all went wrong. Because actually this weekend, the pace has been more encouraging than what we saw in Mexico and in Austin. But he has been a step behind Lando Norris. I think that's fair to say. Piastri came home in fifth. He was hit with a 10-second time penalty for colliding with Kimi Antonelli into turn one on the safety car restart, drew alongside the Italian right on the inside at the apex. He then sent the Mercedes rookie into Charles Leclerc in his Ferrari, who was right on the outside. That put the Ferrari man out straight away. And Abby, the stewards deemed that Piastri's fault, slapped him with that penalty. He made that move work and got himself up into second. So today could have been second for Piastri. But first of all, the penalty, in your eyes, was that worthy?
Yeah, well, it was looking like it was a brilliant move. It was definitely on. He pulled up alongside the Mercedes rookie, but Kimi just ignored the fact that he was there, I think, a little bit, went to the apex, and in doing so, Oscar reacted, locked up because of that movement that Kimi did, and yes, sailed into the side of Kimi Antonelli. But I think it was harsh. If you go by the book, it is what it is deserved, but you have to take each incident into consideration, and situationally, and the context behind each incident. They're all very unique, and in that sense, I think it was more so a racing incident.
Well, talk of the book, let's bring in the BBC's F1 correspondent, Andrew Benson, who was reading it word for word. And it did seem, Andrew, that the stewards are really sort of applying the letter of the law here.
Well, I think what we've got here, Harry, is a situation that many drivers have complained about in many scenarios this year, and that is that the stewards are applying the letter of their driving standards guidelines, but not actually using their brains and thinking about how the incident has happened and who's really at fault for it. So what we've got here, I've got the steward's verdict here, and it says that Piastri didn't establish the required overlap prior to and at the apex, as his front axle was not alongside the mirror of car 12 as defined by those guidelines I was talking about. Piastri locked the brakes as he attempted to avoid contact by slowing, but was unable to do so and made contact with Antonelli. They say that caused contact caused Antonelli to make contact with Leclerc and was forced to retire from the race as a result. And they therefore say Piastri was wholly responsible for the collision. But I'm with Abby. I just don't agree with that at all. Piastri was fully alongside Antonelli approaching the corner. There's no question about that. Then he braked and wasn't alongside him anymore. But he braked at that point because he knew if he didn't brake, then he was not going to make the corner. Yes, he locked his wheel, but he wasn't out of control. He made the apex. The problem was that Antonelli came across to the apex as if Piastri's car wasn't there, didn't give him the room. Now, it didn't, and of course you can't tell what's going to happen because we don't know, because it didn't happen. But it looked to me, and I'd be interested to get Abby's view on this, it looked to me as if Piastri was going to make the corner. Even though his wheel was locked, he was at the angle that you need to do to make the corner. Piastri comes across and they collide, and yes, that collision did push Antonelli into Leclerc, but I think it's absolutely wrong to say that Piastri was wholly responsible for the collision.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that there was more space available to be given. Charles was on the outside of this, so it was a 3-1, just didn't really go. But there was, you could probably fit a fourth car in there almost, the amount of space between Kimi and Charles. So if you look at it, the trajectory that Kimi was going on, he was the exact same as the race leader ahead, Lando Norris, who was going into turn one on his own. And yeah, there just wasn't enough space for Oscar. It was definitely avoidable from both parties. It's to an extent slightly optimistic as Oscar was in fourth going for P2, but he made it work to an extent. There was contact made, but the lockup again was at the result of Kimi turning in and not leaving him space.
Well, let's hear from the Australian, in the end coming home in fifth spot.
Oscar, a tricky afternoon out there. Can we start with the contact with Kimi, the 10-second penalty that followed, and how your race unfolded from that point?
Yeah, I mean, got a really good safety car restart and went to the inside. Yeah, you know, I put myself up the inside pretty comfortably, and yeah, I mean, there was obviously a bit of a lock-up, but I couldn't go any further left than I already was. So, you know, I can't really just disappear. So, Then after that, not sure we made the right calls either, so tough afternoon.
I know it's not the weekend you would have wanted. What do you take from this generally and the championship situation as we move on to this final triple header?
I mean, just, I think in terms of championship, there's no point thinking about it very much. There's clearly some things we need to sort out, and just a tough weekend from a number of fronts. So I'll focus on that instead.
Hard luck.
Piastri sounding a little down on himself there, and that is going to be a tough pill to swallow. Didn't think his strategy particularly played to his advantages either, going for that two-stop, and in the end the same as what his teammate did, and just extending a little bit longer each time. However, the move, let's take away it ended in a 10-second time penalty. I thought the move was brave and decisive for a man who's on the back foot in the Drivers' Championship. Yes, you kind of have to do those things, but it's still very tough to do. He could have waited and managed to get them down the next straight, but he didn't. And I actually think it's quite indicative of where he's at in his mindset. He may sound a bit down and out, but I think on track he's still going to give it his all.
I thought it was brilliant, and it just goes to show that grit and that determination that is in the Aussie to try and fight back for this title. I mean, you say he could have waited, but around here it is quite hard to follow in that middle sector. So the opportunity might not have opened up again. So around here, you take it whilst you can. And if there's a gap open, I mean, famous words of Ayrton Senna, if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver. So I think that is quite fitting, really, in this scenario. But if it was me, I would have done the exact same as what Oscar did.
And you'd kick off in the steward's room afterwards, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Well, unfortunately for Piastri, it wasn't quite his day in the end. But I think he'll still take promise from a slightly improved performance, but still more to find for the young Australian. Let's talk to Max Verstappen. Let's talk about Max Verstappen, because 16th in qualifying yesterday, kicked out of Q1 on pure pace. That Red Bull was nowhere. Both Red Bulls are out, but it's not uncommon to see the second Red Bull driver down there. Then he started from the pit lane. They changed the engine. They changed the setup. It was a bone dry race, unlike last year. It wasn't a remarkable navigate the tricky conditions with a red flag assisting you to go from 17th to the win. But it was a mighty drive from pit lane to podium.
That was one of Max's best drives today, I think. I mean, okay, it wasn't from the back to the win, but from pit lane to come through to P3 with nothing really working in his favour. Last year, yeah, it was amazing, but he had the red flag and other external factors which helped him move forward. Whereas in this scenario, he did it all on pure pace, and that Red Bull is looking much nicer now. They've actually went back on them upgrades on the floor. But as well, when you put it all into context, what he's just achieved, Yuki Tsunoda finished P17, miles off the back of the pack, and bearing in mind there was only 17 finishes. So it's not looking good for his chances. But also what Max is able to do in that Red Bull is he just continues to deliver and claw its way up the field.
It's one of his greatest drives. There's no question about that. But I think the lingering question is, could it have been even better? Because I know other teams had at one point they had Verstappen winning the race or having a good chance of winning the race, believe it or not, from Norris. If we recap a little bit, what happened was he'd already made his way up to 13th by the time of the virtual safety car. He had to pit then because he got a puncture, which was really unfortunate. But that was also fortunate in a way, because not only did it save him some time on the pit stop, but it got him off the hard tyre onto the medium. From that point on, he could have done a medium two-stop. And if they'd committed to that, now I don't know at what point they made the strategy decisions to do this, that or the other, because in the end they went medium, soft. But if they committed to a medium two-stop and managed the tyres accordingly from that point on, he would have been leading the race in the final laps. Could he have held off Lando Norris coming back at him on his fresher tyres in the McLaren? Well, it would have depended on what the margin was and so on. We can't ever know. But other teams think that was a possibility. Having said that, to do what he did with the strategy that they did, get back up to third from starting from the pit lane and having a puncture and making an extra pit stop, is an absolutely remarkable drive. And I mean, in a way, it's just a shame the way the championship's panned out, because he's lost a lot of points this weekend, Verstappen, with Red Bull's poor performance until the Grand Prix. He's also lost another 10 points to Norris by finishing third, with Norris winning. He's now nearly 50 points behind with 3 races to go. Piastri's championship chances are looking shaky, and he's on 24. Just to put that into perspective, that means that if he beats Norris and Norris wins, and if Piastri wins every race, including the sprint in Qatar between now and the end of the season, but Norris is second behind him all the way, Norris still wins the championship. But Verstappen's not got any maths like that involved. He's just got to hope for something to go wrong for both McLaren drivers. So he's out of the picture effectively, which is a shame.
I do think for Oscar, luckily, I think some of his strongest tracks are coming up, Qatar and Abu Dhabi. I think they're good ones for him. Las Vegas, I think, is a little bit more of a question mark for both the McLarens. I think it's going to be quite cold there. And Oscar, as we've heard from Mexico, and even here, when the grip is lower, he's going to struggle. So let's hope it does go to Qatar. But it's a big unknown for Oscar. And he really needs to find something. He can't really sit by and keep watching the rear wing of Lando. He has to be beating him.
For Oscar Piastri, 24 points behind Lando Norris, a further 25 points back is Max Verstappen, who did finish in third, couldn't quite pip Kimi Antonelli. Let's hear from the Dutchman.
Max, P17 to the win last year, pit lane to P3 this year. From where you were yesterday, I mean, what a drive that was.
Yeah, it was a very good race, even with a puncture as well in the race. So I had a good first lap after the safety car. Already overtook some guys, but then somehow we picked up that puncture, maybe from some debris that flew off in front of me in the first lap. But then I think we had strong pace. We did the right calls as well with the strategy, and to be on the podium from the pit lane is something that I definitely didn't expect jumping into the car this morning. But at the same time, I was looking forward to it. I was excited. I also want to say a big thank you to the team, because it's been tough, but we are all, in this together, and we never gave up. We take risk, yes, but I like that. To always try and be better, because we don't want to settle for second.
What can you take from this weekend as a whole? Maybe the lessons as the weekend has developed, and you've kept yourself in the fight for the championship.
Yeah, well, let's not use that word at the moment, because it's too many points to really have a proper chance at that. I think if you look, of course, at the whole season, we gave away too many points from the beginning till the middle of the season. I think for us now, to the end, is trying to just have these highlights, have good race weekends, and see what we can do to the end. But a lot of things that I guess we also still want to analyze from the whole weekend. But at least the race was very promising.
Well done today.
Thank you.
Well, a better end to the weekend than I think he might have imagined after qualifying, because for Max Verstappen, it really did. The qualifying was poor. Even the sprint, was struggling. Wasn't really in the battle for the win. I seem to have issues with the floor on that car ever since Mexico and the upgrade got introduced. So clearly they're still tweaking things at Red Bull, and sometimes the car's still not where they want it to be. And heading into next year, I know it's a whole new regulation set, but the fact they're still fine tweaking things is kind of highlighting how they still want to get to the bottom of problems in their upgrade plan and how they move forward as a team collectively.
Exactly. There's always something to learn, and every time that Max opened his radio all weekend, you just knew it was going to be something negative. He was always complaining about something, whether it was the ride or understeer. I mean, especially on board his sprint qualifying lap, there was tons of understeer in the middle sector, and that different floor that they were running, which was an iteration from Mexico onwards, it was struggling in the slow speed and causing a really poor ride, not enjoying it. And the car's come alive since they've changed it, so I imagine they'll stick to their guts and stick that on for the rest of the year. But it just goes to show how sensitive these cars are to little changes, and that a little bit can go a long way. And there's still, as you say, little fine tunings that everyone can do to try and keep in this title fight.
Well, Verstappen and Red Bull still pushing forward, but they will need, I think, a couple of slices of luck to keep themselves in championship contention towards the end of this season. Verstappen couldn't get past Kimi Antonelli, second for Mercedes. That is his best result of the season, career best result for him with Mercedes. Great drive from Kimi.
Yeah, I think for me personally, okay, taking Max out of the equation, he was the driver of the day. He did a really brilliant job, managed the race. He was really mature, I think, and being able to fend off Max Verstappen on them last couple of laps, he was really smart with in the middle sector. He was bridging the gap a little bit, using the extra minimum he could carry because he wasn't in the turbulent air, dirty air, making it hard going into the final sector for Max to actually attack in that DRS zone. So for me, he did a brilliant job, and he's that race was the Kimi Antonelli that we were promised at the start of the season. We were promised this young protege, Toto Wolff's protege. He's going to be amazing. He's skipped a few steps in the single-seater ladder, and at the start of the year was a bit rocky for him, and he's slowly coming into his own. Okay, he had a standout in Miami and Montreal, but I really hope to see him continue going forward, and the guidance from Bono as well on the radio is really sweet to hear. He's almost like a proud father.
Yeah, well, he's had the better of George Russell this weekend as well, who has struggled. Russell managed to fend off Piastri and came home in fourth, and good points either way for Mercedes. They were a point behind Ferrari for second in the Constructors' Championship before this weekend. Because Ferrari scored 0 in that Grand Prix, Mercedes now take over second spot, and they've got a 32-point advantage, if my maths is correct, ahead of Red Bull, who move up into third place. Ferrari go down into fourth. So a good Sunday nonetheless for Mercedes. But let's hear it from the Italian who finished second.
Kimi, well done, P2. Wondered if we could get your take on the incident with Oscar, first of all, how the race developed from there, and you must be feeling very happy at the end of it with what you got out of it.
Yeah, I mean, very, very, very tired. Yeah, I mean, I had a bad restart, a bit too aggressive on power, and got some wheel spin, and I lost momentum on the way to turn one, and yeah, then we were 3 wide. To be fair, on the braking, Oscar was not fully alongside, and you know, the thing is, I was a bit in a difficult position because I had Oscar on the inside and Charles on the outside. So I tried, you know, my best to give space to both. You know, then to be fair, I didn't really see the crash. I need to see. I just know Oscar locked up, and you know, just at the apex, I got hit, and I ended up onto Charles, which, you know, was a shame because, you know, I ended up crashing with him, and he had to retire, and not what they wanted. But on my side, I was very lucky to keep going. Need to check with the car if I had damage. It felt a bit weird, to be fair, the car afterwards, but you know, we still kept our head down and managed to finish on P2.
Yeah, such a mature display this weekend and the weekend as a whole. Does this feel like the best weekend of your career so far?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was the most complete weekend of the season so far, and you know, I think finally we've been putting things more together, and yeah, just happy. You know, I think we maximized the performance, the result, and yeah, also good points on the constructor, and we just need to keep pushing.
Well done, Kimi.
Kimi Antonelli then picking up vital points for himself. He's 7th in the Drivers' Championship behind Lewis Hamilton, but still got a way to go before he can think about trying to get near there. But a good result from Kimi Antonelli. Mike Seymour asking all the questions, by the way. And whilst it's happy days for Mercedes, who move up to second, I mean, it's a nightmare Sunday for Ferrari, Abby.
Yeah, they couldn't really have asked for anything worse. I mean, both them having a DNF. Charles, I think, was a really innocent party. Hamilton getting damage on the first lap with Franco Colapinto, and he also had a tap at turn 1 and dropped down the order. So that was also a little bit out of his control. So both really, really unfortunate. I think Hamilton as well. This is the most pointless Grand Prix he's had since 2020. So he's struggling a lot in that Ferrari, and it just goes from bad to worse, really.
That was Ferrari's story then. The only other retirement was Gabriel Bortoleto, which was a shame for him, the Brazilian who crashed out on lap 1. So his first home Grand Prix and not going particularly well. Let's just have a look at best of the rest, shall we? Because, I mean, there was a pretty fierce fight for 8th between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm making about 7 drivers right at the end were fighting for 8th. But it was actually Oliver Behrman and Liam Lawson who were just that step ahead. Behrman, back-to-back top 6 results, just finishes ahead of Liam Lawson. 2, I actually think, quietly outstanding drives from those 2.
Yeah, they kind of lurked in the sidelines there. We didn't see too much of them, but some really good overtakes from Ollie, and some late overtakes from Ollie as well we saw. Yeah, a really solid drive going off of Mexico, similar to Lando, really, keeping that momentum going forwards and doing a really good job. But I definitely didn't expect Liam to continue and keep that position. The Racing Bulls struggled a little bit, but all of a sudden found a little bit of pace in qualifying in Q3 and kind of come out of nowhere. So they did a really good job to kind of manage the chaos and get two good results.
Lawson did it on one stop as well for the Kiwi. So that was a long afternoon for the Racing Bulls driver. And that has changed things a bit in the midfield battle in the fight for that coveted 6th position. Racing Bulls now take over and hold it with 82 points to their name. They're 10 clear of Aston Martin, who are only 2 ahead of Haas, who are only 8 ahead of Sauber. So that is still a fierce fight. Sauber picked up points with Nico Hulkenberg, and even Pierre Gasly got another point as well. So 2 points from the weekend for the Alpine driver. So I'd call that successful. Albon 11th ahead of Ocon, Sainz, Alonso, Colapinto, Stroll, and Tsunoda, the 17th and last recorded driver. I think that just about covers it. Anything you think I've missed? No?
I don't think so.
No?
It was really close at the end there with, again, for the race for the points. Albon just missing out on the final point by 0.2, I guess.
Your hero of the race. We don't really do driver of the day anymore, so we're calling it hero of the race instead, okay. Abby. So who was your hero of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix?
It was Kimi Antonelli for me. Hero of the race. He did a really great job. Managed, I mean, I've already said, but managed... The tyres well, managed Verstappen behind well, and got his 2nd podium of his F1 career. Yeah,
it's a good shout. I would go for... I'm actually going to go for Max Verstappen. I think that was a brilliant drive. Shall we get a hero of the race from Andrew Benson? I know you're in the middle of writing. Do you want to give us a hero?
Verstappen, for me, every time. It was an absolutely outstanding drive.
Could have been the win. Maybe. Possibly. We'll never know. But either way, pit lane to podium, remarkable. But no one had it for Lando Norris. Just over 10 seconds to win the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And as we head to colder climes in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks' time, will he be able to fare well there? We shall see. But it's Norris who wins the race and extends his lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Work to do then for Oscar Piastri. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for Las Vegas. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Abby. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.